When you hear cotton tree, what comes to your mind? Cotton tree. Quote of the even is, "He who plants a tree plants hope." Lucy Lorcom. He who plants a tree plants a hope. Good night, each and every one. Welcome to Weekly Black History Live with your host, Posha Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight, we are touching on a powerful symbol that connects the pain of slavery, the joy of emancipation, and the hope of rebirth, the cotton tree. I'm going to get the live on my phone chat so that we can communicate. There we go. All right. Before we begin, remember this program is for educational and inspirational purposes. I'm learning right alongside you, uncovering stories that remind us of where we come from and how far we have come. Now, when you hear cotton tree, what comes to mind? That in Jamaica, it's halfway tree, a busy intersection named after one of these ancient giants. In Sierra Leone, it's the cotton tree in Freetown, a sacred landmark tied to freedom itself. These trees stood tall through slavery, emancipation, gatherings, and nation building. They're not just trees, they're living witnesses of our sacred story. Okay, welcome, one and only Venus. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Mikhail, thank you so much for joining tonight, Mikhail, our weekly Black History Live. And I'm happy that you're joining because this is something that you may not know about this ancient tree that has played a pivotal role in our existence in Jamaica and other places. So tonight we will be talking about the cotton tree, roots of freedom, faith, and ancestral memory. Hi, one and only Venus. Thank you so much for joining. All right. The cotton tree is one of the most majestic and sacred trees in tropical regions. It can grow over 50 feet to about 150 feet tall, with a massive trunk stretching up to 8 feet wide and wide with its roots, and its roots are called buttresses. Those parts that have those little spaces between them, those are roots going down that rise and spread like protective arms around its base. Its wide umbrella-like crown provides shade and a commanding presence over the land. You literally can see it in one of my videos, and I'm going to share I'm going to put it in the description, those two videos that I did. But one of them, I was blown away because of what I saw, this majestic tree. And my sister was sitting beside me with her daughter and the driver. We began to talk about it, and there was so much to unravel. I'm going to put it in the description and you check it out, those two videos after. Beautiful trees. And the next tree that I saw was right there where my grandmother lived, at the back of her yard, near that boundary line between her and her neighbor. I saw this beautiful cotton tree. And then I started to do some research, and I found that Jamaica had a lot of cotton trees, and there is still cotton trees in Jamaica that are humongous. They are so wide that several people stand beside each other, you know, measuring, the tree that are there, ancient trees. Now, it gets me thinking, how long has those trees been around? But let's continue with the description. The tree's leaves are grouped in clusters of 5 to 8, long and elegant. It bursts into life with beautiful white or pink blossoms. After flowering, it produces long pods filled with silky cotton-like fibers that fall gently to the ground when ripe. These fibers, light and waterproof, once filled with pillows and mattresses and life vests, and are known in some places as kapot. Across the Caribbean and Africa, the cotton tree is more than a plant. It's a living monument. And thank you so much for giving me a thumbs up in the now African roots and the symbolism the cotton tree presents. Let's start in West Africa, where Seba pentandra, or popularly known the silk cotton tree, or just cotton tree, is native. For many African communities, these trees were sacred, believed to house spirits of ancestors, and serve as gateways between the living and the spiritual world. When Africans were enslaved and taken to the Caribbean and the Americas, they brought with them these beliefs, the understanding that under the shade of the cotton tree, the ancestors were present. And in Sierra Leone, that symbolism took on a new life. When freed Black loyalists, formerly enslaved people from Nova Scotia and England, arrived in Freetown around 1787. I think it's about 400 persons that Black loyalists that went on that first trip. They gathered beneath a giant cotton tree. There they prayed, sang hymns, and gave thanks for their freedom. What a wampus time it must have been. That gathering. Hi, Cece, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. So we have Cece joining us tonight. Thank you so much. I know that RJ will not be attending tonight. So next week, we will be having him as our guest on. And, we have been looking forward to him being on this channel, giving his input to Black history and history on a whole. So we're looking forward to next week with that. But interestingly, this week we are talking about the cotton tree, this humongous, giant, significant tree that have been all over the Americas, in tropical areas of the Americas, in Sierra Leone, and in the Caribbean, and as we know, in Jamaica. Now, that first gathering, marked the beginning of Freetown, and the cotton tree became a national symbol of liberation. For more than 200 years, it stood as a reminder that hope and home can rise from struggle. So they gathered, they prayed, they sang, they were thankful for their freedom right there under that huge cotton giant cotton tree. The cotton tree and slavery in Jamaica. Now let's journey to Jamaica, where the cotton tree or the silk cotton tree held both cultural and historical significance during slavery. In many parishes, cotton trees grew near crossroads or marketplaces, central places where enslaved people gathered when traveling between plantations or to town. The most famous is Halfway Tree in St. Andrew. And if you know Halfway Tree, it is that central place that takes you to any part of the island for that intersection. It takes you anywhere. But this one in particular, the midpoint between Kingston and Spanish Town, and long before it became a bustling urban center, it was a resting place, a space where travelers paused, talked, shared news, and even resisted. It's said that under some of these trees, enslaved people shared plans, exchanged coded messages, and prayed for freedom. These trees became witnesses to both oppression and quiet acts of defiance. At the same time, cotton trees were feared by some because of their link to the spirit world. In Jamaican folklore, they were homes of duppies, spirits of the dead. But for those who understood their deeper African meaning, the tree was a place of connection where ancestors listened, protected, and guided. The cotton tree, so in Alpha Tree, there was that huge cotton tree that was a significant tree between Spanish Town and Halfway Tree. So in Kingston, so Kingston and Spanish Town. So that cotton tree, because of the significance of it and the part that it played at that time, they called it Halfway Tree. Halfway to where you're going, they would rest right there, and they would gather, and they would talk, and they would catch up on what's going on, and even have resistance. So that, and even in downtown Kingston, there was a cotton tree. So cotton trees play a very significant role in Jamaica, where I'm from. Emancipation and gatherings of hope. After emancipation in 1834, cotton trees took on new meaning. Under their wide branches, communities held Thanksgiving gatherings, religious meetings, and storytelling sessions. In places like Halfway Tree and throughout rural Jamaica, people use these trees as meeting spots, like for revivals, kumina, and other African-rooted faiths, spaces where freedom was celebrated and the spiritual connection to Africa remained strong. These trees, standing for centuries, symbolized continuity from slavery to freedom, from despair to resilience. Their roots ran deep, just like the roots of our people. Now, cotton trees as national symbols. In both Sierra Leone and Jamaica, the cotton tree grew beyond its physical form. It became a part of national identity. In Sierra Leone, the cotton tree appeared on banknotes, stamps, and in school lessons, a daily reminder of survival and self-determination. In 2023, A storm severely damaged the tree after about 200 years. The entire nation mourned as if a loved one had passed. And I saw pictures of this, and you see people gathering. And guys, my beautiful people, rather, it was humongous. It was a very large tree that they actually had to cut up. Hi, RJ. Glad you could make it. So, RJ did make it this evening. Thank you so much. I don't know if you know about the cotton tree in Sierra Leone and that there were also cotton trees in the Americas and more so in the Caribbean. So, we have been talking about the Caribbean, the cotton tree as a symbol of our identity and hope. So when I looked at the tree falling because of this storm, the roots can be very delicate, so they don't go all the way down, but that's the reason why they spread out to give them balance. But this one was pretty old and it tilted over because of the severe storm. RJ says cotton trees that are new to me, but I do know cotton grows in Peru. Yes, so the cotton trees, they are gigantic or they are huge trees that roots extend out, and you can literally see the roots as partitions around the tree. And then its branches go towards heaven and branch out. Yes, I have two videos on them. One just came out today, and the other with my sister. And I'm going to share them in the description after the chat. But you can see them because they are part of Jamaica Unfolded. So persons really mourn this because that was the first place that they gathered, the first set of free persons that went to Sierra Leone, Freetown, and they gathered there, they sang, they worshiped, they gave thanks for their freedom under that tree. So that tree became a prominent tree in their society, and they built around it. And now in 2023, it fell. But guess what? They still are one. They still have hope. And so I believe that they would continue to celebrate that tree as a part of their history, a part of their heritage. Now, people gathered around it, they prayed and they shared memories because that tree held their collective story. And even in its broken state, it still symbolizes resilience. They made it where they were free, because where they were in Nova Scotia, it was really hard to live there with the cold and the treatment. And so they sent them to that location. Daddy said one is up by Mummy. And guess what? If he's saying Mason Hall, I can tell you that I've seen it. It's huge. I'm thinking that one probably might be about 200 years old. I'm not sure, but that is correct. If he says up by Mummy, where my mom in Mason, then he's correct. Right around Mama's house, Yannick, there is one. I've seen it, and you will see it in the video, and you can examine it a little closer than the one that we saw in the previous video. And I love trees. I have an appreciation for trees. They were here before we came, and they provide so much. And it says cotton tree was used to mark grave. Yes. No, up by your Okay, by your property. Oh, there is one there. There is one. Which one is it? Is it? I'm not sure which one that is. Which tree? Is it beside the apple tree? I'm not sure which one, or is it beside the fencing on the right? Let me know which one, because I'm not picturing one up there in my mind. So let me know that. All right. So my sister is saying that there's one on the property that we have, a cotton tree. So I'm trying to picture it. But cotton trees are beautiful trees. Okay. All right. Got you. Got you. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that makes me even more curious. And so in Jamaica, the spirit of the cotton tree lives on in art, folklore, and even in city names like Alfred Tree, Cotton Tree Hill in St. Elizabeth, and countless landmarks that still bear its name. And also in the Caribbean, there are other places that actually there's a place in, I think it's Grenada, one of those, and they call it halfway tree, just like in Kingston, St. Andrew, they call it halfway tree, that point, because of that cotton tree. So cotton tree were at central locations that persons would rest under, they would worship, they would catch up on news, and they would even, carry out plots as to how they're going to resist. And these trees were landmarks that persons knew that they were at this place or this, distance from where they are going. And one and only Venus say, he will show you next time. Yes, yes, even before next time, I know I'm going to see it. So I'm just curious about having a cotton tree that I wasn't aware of on the property that we have. Now, lessons in closing, lessons from the cotton tree. So, what can we learn from the cotton tree today? One, it teaches us about resilience, standing tall despite centuries of storms. Two, it teaches unity as a place where communities gathered, shared, and hope. So important, community. Three, it reminds us of freedom's price, that the journey from slavery to self determination began with faith under open skies. And four, and last, just as the cotton tree sheltered our ancestors, we too must plant new trees, trees of hope, education, justice, and equality. And yes, also physical trees. So future generations can stand under their shade. Now, we're going to have a true or false. I know RJ wasn't here. So plant seeds of legacy. Yes. Plant trees of legacy. I like that. And I'm going to put that in the description. Plant trees of legacy. We may not be able to plant a physical tree, but we can plant trees of hope, education, justice, and equality, so that not only for us, because we may not live it to see it in its full bloom, but the generation after are going to enjoy and experience it. So, true or false? One, just three true or false tonight. One, the cotton tree in Freetown became a national symbol of freedom after freed Black loyalists prayed beneath it in 1787. Is this true or false? Is this true or false? The cotton tree in Freetown became a national symbol of freedom after freed Black loyalists prayed beneath it in 1787. And RJ says, true. Yes, that is true. This was when the first set of um, black freed black loyalists were shipped on a British ship to Freetown. So here they worshipped, they gathered, and they prayed, and they had hope, and they built their town around that massive tree. Number two, true or false? Halfway Tree in Jamaica was named after a silk cotton tree that stood between Kingston and Spanish Town. Is this true or false? Let me know in the chat. Halfway Tree in Jamaica was named after a silk cotton tree that stood between Kingston and Spanish Town. True or false? Yes, Cece, that is true. And until this day, we call it halfway tree. So there is a clock. They had to cut it down in the 1800s. Not sure of the reason, but there are also other silk cotton trees that they even have taken. RJ, yes, that's correct. They have taken pictures and put on stamps. Yes. And throughout the Caribbean, there were also other places that call halfway tree, like our Jamaica halfway tree. Now, number three, true or false, cotton trees were only feared as haunted and had no spiritual value. True or false, cotton trees were only feared as haunted and had no spiritual value. Is this true or false? False. RJ says false. Yes, they were false. It's false. They were sacred places of ancestral and spiritual connection. And I know I didn't mention it in this session, but there were also Tainos that had their crafts underneath the trees. They have found them. And I tell you, it's just my mind has been just blown away at one of the largest that I've seen in Jamaica when I was doing this research. Huge. And people still visit that. It's in the woods. But when you get there and you look at it, it's so beautiful, magnificent. I love trees, so I was really drawn by the cotton trees that I've seen with my eyes and that I've seen while doing this research. And RJ says, yes, the Taino ancestral don't get a lot of love. Yes, we have to talk about them as well. They have played a vital role because they were here before us, just like in the Americas, the same set of people, just different groups were lodged different places. All right, so I'm going to put those two videos in the description for you to literally see the cotton trees that I've been referring about that I've seen in my videos, right? Now, as we close tonight's episode, I want you to imagine one of those great cotton trees, roots deep in the earth, branches stretches toward heaven. Think of the people who stood beneath them, enslaved, freed, faithful, determined, whispering prayers, sharing stories, burying their dead, or just catching their breath on a long road toward freedom. Those trees remind us that our ancestors stood tall so we could rise higher. And just like them, we must continue to stand firm, grounded in history, reaching for light and providing shade for others. Thank you for joining Weekly Black History Live with Posha Malcolm. Yours truly. If this inspires you, share it with someone and join me next week we'll have a special guest. Yes, we'll be having a special guest as we continue exploring the roots of Black history and culture that shape who we are today. Thank you so much once again for joining. I've had one and only Venus with the family, RJ, and CC. Thank you so much, CC. Thank you, RJ, and thank you, one and only Venus. I really do appreciate your engagement in the chat, and those who have been watching, I appreciate you joining as well. We'll see each other next week at the same time, 9 p.m. And we will, as I said before, having a special guest, and I'm looking forward to that. So good night, everyone, and may we all continue to grow strong like the cotton tree. And share this video with someone who will appreciate it as you have. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. Take care. Good night.